if somebody has now progressed from the point where they are outside your vehicle, they're yelling at it, they're yelling at you. Now, if they actually begin to make contact with the vehicle, that changes things a bit, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, I think for those states, particularly that have strong castle doctrine laws, where that forceful and unlawful entry, or whatever exact legal terminology your state puts on it, when someone is trying to enter if it's your castle, you have really strong defensive rights to respond with force. I mean, potentially even deadly force if necessary. There are states that give you a presumption of reasonableness, which is great, because once someone tries to get into that castle, the jury's going to be instructed to presume you reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bear in mind, you may live in a state that either does not have a castle doctrine presumption or doesn't apply it to the vehicle. But even if you don't, it's still, I mean, it changes the reasonableness balance in my mind between someone just standing outside your car and someone doing something, whether it's, actually really aggressively trying to get in, like let's say by breaking a window or even pulling at your door handle. I think it changes that reasonable person response.
Certainly, and I have experience with an incident that sort of kind of textbook plays out this way, where two individuals, it wasn't technically a road rage, but one individual was in a car, one individual was on the sidewalk. They got into an argument because they were neighbors. So they got into an argument with each other, and they were, talking very aggressively, throwing out threats and insults and comments and everything else. And then the bright line, whenever the bright line was crossed, the individual who was outside the car, actually the window was down, of course, because they were talking, reached through the open window and grabbed the other guy by his shirt collar. And at that point, the other guy then brought his firearm out of the center console. The guy immediately backed up and said, "Oh, you effed up. You effed up. I'm going to call the cops." Well, the cops did respond. Fortunately, the cops knew the law. The guy reemphasized the actual physical act that motivated him to show the gun, which was the guy actually forcefully and unlawfully entering his car with his arm to grab him by the collar. And the police immediately agreed that there was no crime, that the guy, completely obviously acted in self-defense once the guy who had reached the gun. Now, obviously, if the guy had not reached through the car, if they were just still sitting there arguing, and then he decided to show the gun, totally different story.
Yeah.